build their central bank currencies on top of the dollar based upon the promise that the US dollar would be convertible to gold. The future of a country should never be gambled upon. If an individual wants to gamble and go lower down the risk curve, but at this stage, the furthest you can go is looking at either doing a central bank digital currency, which has a new name, which is communism on a blockchain, if you want to pursue that way of organizing your economy. Or the alternative is looking at the financial innovation on top of pristine collateral like Bitcoin, if you want to pursue a more Austrian freedom-orientated way of organizing your economy. Those two innovations will prevail, and those two innovations will determine the trajectory of the level of freedom that you have for your citizens in your country. Everything else is leave that to the gambling, and the future of a country should never take that types of risks because it has catastrophic implications for the citizens and the individuals that live in that country. Yeah, before the industry needed some help, I was 200,000 words into writing my new book on following the money over the last 5,000 years in order to unearth many of the wars, pandemics, the financial flows, to help people put a forecast for the next decade so that individuals, companies and countries can use Bitcoin in order to take a percentage of their country or their company or their individual retirement plans and take advantage of the future of money as we move into what I was forecasting a while back, these different monetary renegotiations that the world is going to be experiencing as a result of much of the geopolitics today. Well, obviously the Bitcoin standard is the only thing that, this is meant to be digital hard sound money. We got into Bitcoin because we wanted to prevent money printing, and then everyone creates new money printing as the short-term option. But that's the fiat model, and if people want to follow the fiat model, then they can destroy their economy, which unfortunately will have catastrophic consequences for those that are impoverished by the fiat currency system. It's unethical, it's immoral, it should not be pushed forward, and anybody that is advising a country to engage in such practices really think about some of the ethics behind that, because these are countries that have been really affected by the fiat monetary system and need hard money in order to reverse the fact that they were robbed in Africa by the British government and colonialism of their gold and silver in the past by printing agribeads and all sorts of things that caused the slavery industry. People need to look at their monetary history when messing around with these things. So if some teenager became a billionaire through messing with cryptocurrencies, do not inflict that upon countries. We've got to have a higher standard than that. Hard money is what these countries need, not more money printing. That's what they've already had and has already destroyed their currencies and has already led to poverty and catastrophic results. I deploy the industry to have a higher standard. This is money printing. This is tribes centered around things. Bitcoin was hard enough to create. To have to think that someone else can come along and create these coins that are going to make a difference in their country, it's just it's not going to work. It's going to have disastrous consequences. We've seen all this before. Iceland tried to do it with Aurora coin, and how many times do we need to go through these cycles for people to learn that we've already done this? It never works, and Bitcoin ends up in the end. Yeah, so the Volcano Bonds is an exciting project. I think it was right to delay that project given the current environment. This is the right time for El Salvador, from my perspective, to be doing exactly what they're doing, which is accumulating their stack, dollar cost averaging down into the bear market, and playing a longer game. We've seen this so many times. The wealth that we've seen generated in this market is when everyone's saying that Bitcoin's dead, Bitcoin's a scam, you're an idiot, you bought it, look at that. And that's when the wealth is created. And then everyone looks like geniuses during the next bull markets as we enter into the next cycle. In the next cycle, I do believe that El Salvador is perfectly positioned in order to take some of their new laws and new regulations slow down a little bit and let's rebuild the financial markets and leapfrog based upon Bitcoin as collateral and have bonds and various other securities markets, because I believe that is the source of the next cycle. We're going to have to go through a building phase, and the countries, if Latin America or other countries and El Salvador can position themselves ready for that, I believe that we've got a David beats Goliath leapfrog moment that everyone's going to mock. And because the Bitcoin market's crashing, those are the times when everybody looks at them and says, you're an idiot, and you get the opportunity to leapfrog them when everyone tries to catch up during the bull market. So, the dollar has been through several monetary renegotiations. I call this the fifth monetary renegotiation. The first one was in 1910 when we were on a gold standard and a bunch of bankers met on Jekyll Island to design the financial system to support JP Morgan, who was bailing out because there was no lender of last resort, and very similar to today, where FTX and SAM is bailing out the industry following the JP Morgan strategy. That was monetary renegotiation one, where the whole fiat-based Ponzi scheme was designed. The second one was designed after World War I in 1919, where US really became the winner because it was funding much of the war, but it wasn't actually affected by the war, and so it built the strongest economy. And the Paris Treaty, the Treaty of Versailles, essentially took all of the debt of the losing countries from the war, and it was owed to the US. And it moved into the second phase of the gold standard, but also had the Federal Reserve fiat money printing system built on top. The third monetary renegotiation was designed by John Maynard Keynes, that wanted to create a shitcoin called Bancor. And instead, the US managed to remove everybody from the gold standard and get everybody to, build their central bank currencies on top of the dollar, based upon the promise that the US dollar would be convertible to gold. The fourth monetary renegotiation happened in 1973, or 1971, I think it was first talked about, when President Nixon decided to remove that, and therefore we had the ginormous, massive money printing that we're experiencing right now. The final monetary renegotiation, let's call it monetary renegotiation 5, is when the Federal Reserve decided that dollars by central banks are no longer dollars if you do not play by our rules, which means that China, other countries in Latin America that may have been shafted by economic hitmen at the IMF, now know that you can't own that money, you can't spend that money, and it certainly doesn't have a fixed supply, causing hyperinflation in their economies, which leads us to the end of a debt cycle and the positioning for Latin America to really rebuild their economy, competing rather than taking those China Belt and Road loans or those IMF economic hitman loans. They can rebuild based upon Bitcoin, digital hard sound money, while everyone else is focused on central bank digital currencies.